Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you Game 3 in a series between Delphi and Socke. Game 3 taking place in the Xel'Naga Caverns. Delphi spawning on the north side of the map as the red Zerg. And meanwhile, we have ATN Socke spawning as the blue Protoss. So Protoss versus Zerg here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. Looking forward to this matchup. The game 2 was a little anticlimactic. I'm a little disappointed. Was hoping they'd let the adrenaline from that final match carry me through into this final cast of the day. Yeah, casting 5-6 games a day starts to take its toll, especially when you have other obligations as well. So yeah, trying not to cast that many games, but sometimes scheduling gets in the way. A probe now making its way out will be able to come in and scout the north side. Delphi, surprisingly enough, doesn't go very often for a very early hatchery. And he normally goes spawning pool into extractor, gets the metabolic boost, stops harvesting minerals, or stops harvesting gas, gets enough minerals, and then expands. It has worked out pretty well for him so far in this matchup. I don't think he's going to try to deviate from this strategy at all, as this is a build that he's very, very comfortable with, and the drones are just still mining and mining away. Will that probe be able to... Yeah, the probe now going to head back down that ramp to see... No, not heading down that ramp yet, as he sees that there is a spawning pool now in play, and the probe knows that he doesn't have to really worry about a hatchery now coming in just quite yet. That probe now coming back into the game, or coming back into the ramp, able to take a look around. There is the extractor now down, so Delphi, doing that typical build that he has been doing so far. Will he be able to get those early metabolic boosted lings up that ramp? I don't think so. Normally Delphi he's not really that aggressive with his units. He plays a little bit more of a conservative Zerg. What I believe he will do is he will try to start getting gas. He'll probably have around 40 gas right as the spawning pool is done. I'm also studying replays to try to understand more about the other races. So yeah, 36 gas off by 4. And now he's going to start training up most likely 4 Zerglings. Those Zerglings are going to chase down this one probe. That probe may try to come down in this position, try to block that hatchery, but it's not going to really work, as there are going to be four Zerglings on that one probe in just a moment, and then that probe is going to be able to be forced to run away. You can see those 2 Zerglings now, 2 more Zerglings bringing up the rear. There is 1 drone still wandering around on the inside as the Zealot now comes in, and now there's that pylon. So that pylon is currently being warped in, and oh, not giving chase towards that one probe. He should have at least left 1 Zergling to chase there. I believe that would have worked out better for him, as now Delphi is going to be able to set up that hatchery, and now this probe will be able to return home and mine more minerals. So a little bit of perhaps a misclick there, or Delphi, if he had left 1 Zergling to chase, would have been able to get that final hit. 1 Overlord now in the air, gonna try to come in and try to get some sight and figure out what exactly Socke is going for. Socke's base doesn't have all too much in it, so the Overlord quickly flies in and sees absolutely nothing. You can see now a sentry currently being trained, and now more gateways being warped in by Socke. So Socke going in for some additional gateways, and now in comes 1 sentry, so the sentry will be able to hold off those units there. And that 1 sentry just sitting there should be able to finish off any Zerglings, especially if it drops a force field, preventing any more additional units from reinforcing. Delphi, this hatchery will be completed in just a moment. 3 drones now being trained, a 2nd queen and being trained up as well. Most likely going to drop a creep tumor and then make its way down over here. Yeah, it's going to make its way down over here just as that hatchery is completed, but that queen will not have enough energy for a spawn larva until a little bit later. 1 Overlord able to spot this 1 pylon over here. Building wise, we just see a lot of gateways so far, and nothing really telling at all. At some point, Socke may try to set up an expansion nexus, but it is going to get cleaned up by those sentries and that Zealot. I believe the warp gate research has been completed, and yes, gonna warp in some more sentries. So yeah, just focusing a lot of focusing on producing gas units, allowing him to save up 400 minerals and then perhaps warp in a nexus. That is what I am waiting for. I'm not quite sure why Socke hasn't warped in another that nexus yet, instead going for a forge. So a forge now being built. Sentry and Zealot now pulling its way back. We now finally see the Nexus coming in from Socke. That is a little bit later than normal. 6 minutes and 36 seconds in. The Delphi's expansion has already been up and running, and now even had enough for a spawn larva. So you can see that's why there's so many Zerg cocoons currently in play. Delphi getting up another extractor and now going for a Roach Warren at his natural expansion. So this may be Roach Hydra once again. Oh, Delphi may be, I don't know what he's doing double Roach Warren, but perhaps he wants to research Tunneling Claws and Glial Reconstitution movement at the same time. Most likely that is a misclick, and now those sentries are returning home. So sentries now quickly going to clean up those Zerglings there. That second Roach Warren will be coming online in just, or be morphed in just a moment. Sentries still doing a great job preventing any serious damage. And as Socke, did he cancel it? No, he did not cancel it. So we have another Roach Warren here, and that's a little bit of a surprise. He could go for that Tunneling Claws, which would be, oh, he is going for a double research. So I guess if you make a mistake like that, might as well make it worth it. So he's going for double Roach Warren in order to get Tunneling Claws and Glial Reconstitution and be able to research Burrow at the same time. So if Socke doesn't have a photon cannon, which he does, he may not suspect how quickly that those roaches are going to be able to make their way out. He should, Delphi should also be getting a stronger creep tumor presence as well, as there are currently, only 2 queens in play. A third queen would be able to add a lot more larvae, perhaps setting up those overlords to try to spawn some additional creep as well. Zerglings hanging around over here. We now see roaches making a very, very long walk off into this direction, but with Void Rays now being added to the army off of a Stargate, I believe those roaches' days are going to be numbered. They will be able to benefit from the fact that there are not going to be any observers around, so those roaches are going to be able to play whack-a-mole and perhaps get some damage in. The one photon cannon here, though, is going to be able to spot any of those units, and now we finally see that robotics facility coming into play, so that is going to be a little bit of time. Roaches are now scampering along that backside, perhaps going to get some damage in. We do see a decent number of roaches, 7 roaches now making their way out. We now see Zerglings trying to push out in the front as well. The Tunneling Claws research obviously shown by those spikes on the back. Void Ray now in the air, but roaches now coming in from the backside, and those roaches should be able to pop up in just a second, dealing damage towards those probes. There we go, now dealing damage towards those probes. Stalkers and sentries need to come back over and reinforce. There is a photon cannon here and able to get a lot of damage onto those units, but those roaches do have a decent amount of regeneration. Roaches now trying to push in on that front side as well, as those probes are not really quite sure what to do. Force fields now dropping down, but those roaches can burrow underneath those force fields pretty effectively. We are getting some additional photon cannons now, so those photon cannons will be able to start revealing these roaches, but those probes do not want to try to mine any serious mining at this point. And there we go, another burrow right there. Force field has been cast right on top of them, and they should be able to move around. Roaches also trying to take down these destructible rocks at the natural expansion, but whack-a-mole play doing such a great job. And now those roaches are now trying to get out of sight range, and still an observer is in the air, so those roaches, force field, doesn't he realize that you can burrow underneath, and now going after those sentries. So those sentries are very, very gas expensive units, and now those roaches dealing some more damage there, denying those sentries. Socke doesn't want to replace those sentries, as those sentries are very expensive gas-wise at 100 gas each. So we'll see if Socke actually tries to replace those, or if he's just going to try to continue the rest of the game down 2 sentries instead of the standard 6 to 8 that most Protoss players like. Level 1 weapons upgrade, Groove Spines and Hydralisk now being trained. I don't see a Spire yet, so without a Spire, no Corruptors in order to counter those Colossi. And now Delphi is establishing up his 3rd base, so that 3rd base is going to be critical. If he's able to hang on to this 3rd base and macro up a large enough army, he should be able to carry it through, as he does have a stronger army at this time. He is behind in terms of drones, though. 51 drone, or 53 compared to 52. Just changed it up, as he is now currently power droning. You can see one hatchery here, training up the Numinized Carpus now in order to get the faster movement speed on those overlords. And oh, one poor Phoenix tries to chase down an overlord and quickly gets shot out of the air. The Groove Spines on those Hydralisks completing just in time in order to shoot down those units. And we can see the hatchery is over here. We have Hydralisks making their way over as well. As soon as this hatchery grows, it will be able to generate some additional creep as well. But now we see the main fight, Stalkers and Sentries moving out over here to try to push back The Observer is in the air, and there should be an Overseer perhaps to try to reveal that one Observer, and the Roaches continue to just give and able to poke apart many more of those sentries. So another sentry has been taken down, and the sentry count is now, I believe, down to 2? Yeah, down to 2 sentries, so those sentries are not going to be nearly as effective. Force fields now coming in. Roaches can just burrow underneath. Hydra is trying to get in some damage. Overlords now trying to pull away, and why don't those Roaches could burrow, but there is an Observer in the air to try to reveal them. The sentries are low on energy, so they're not going to be able to get in that many more force fields. After that Guardian Shield, yeah, not much energy at all. Roaches and Hydras now battling it out, but this Colossus at 1 hit point, able to barely survive, and will be able to slowly start regenerating more and more shields. There are Overlords now trying to spawn some creep, as those Hydras now trickly coming in from that far side as well. Perhaps we'll be able to get some damage. No, decides against it, doesn't want to charge in too far, and Delphi made a mistake in that battle. His army now is slightly smaller than his opponent. He does have a decent number of drones, but his opponent also, Socke, also has 63 probes as well. So 59 versus 63, and now the Void Rays will be able to take down these destructible rocks. These rocks will get taken down as Delphi attempts to establish up a 4th base. There are some spine crawlers being built as well, but spine crawlers with only a range of 7 cannot go toe-to-toe against an upgraded Colossus with a range of 9. An upgraded range of 9 Colossus can obviously take down an infinite number of spine crawlers without having to take any damage at all. Roaches and Hydralisks now just still wandering around. It looks like those Roaches were trying to charge into that group there, but without any fungal growth and no real way to deal damage towards that ball. He is not going to be able to really challenge this Stalker Immortal Sentry Colossus ball that is in the air. We may see more Void Rays added to this group, as well as the Void Rays are going to be effective against those Corruptors. We now see one Zealot trying to run head on, trying to take down this hatchery. This hatchery should be able to finish, as some Roaches and Hydralisks now are going to make come around that backside as well. So Colossus and Stalker is just so strong. This mechanical ball here, Stalkers and Colossus dealing so much damage. Down goes a Queen so quickly. And I believe Delphi is going to lose this expansion very, very easily. With no real way to stop any retreat here, those Colossus are just going to be able to use that extended thermal lances and just slice away and burninate all these hatcheries. And Corruptors now are trying to give chase. The Corruptors do not have that far of a range in order to deal damage without taking damage from those Stalkers themselves. And the Corruptors do have one thing going for them. It is their natural base 2 armor. But I believe that the Zealots and Stalkers have level 1 weapons upgrade already. Stalkers just moving so quickly. Corruptors now trying to come in and trying to deal damage toward those Colossi. More drones are getting taken down. Roach is now trying to come in. But with so many force fields, yes, more sentries have been replaced. And multiple force fields preventing any of these Hydralisks and Roaches from being able to break through this location here. And down goes, or this hatchery will get taken down in just a second. It's just a matter of time. Yeah, down it goes. Broodlings now trying to swarm in, but those Broodlings are not going to be able to deal that much damage at all. Delphi needs to get some Ultralisks in order to break down those force fields. Otherwise, he is not going to be able to fight against Socke. Socke just has superior positioning in every battle so far. A couple photon cannons over here as well. Photon cannons with a range of 7, making it even more difficult for those Corruptors to get within combat range. One Zealot. I don't know how this one Zealot is still in this location, able to just get more and more kills. There we go. In comes a swarm of Roaches, and now drones coming off the mineral line. And the drones, what are they going to do? Not quite sure. And they're just going to get eaten up by the extended thermal lances. They're not going to be able to deal all too much. Perhaps some long distance mining is in store. And no, trying to build up another hatchery. And now, yeah, some long distance mining is in store. Production wise, more Corruptors, Overlords, another Nexus, and now a Twilight Council. And those Colossi now charging in will be able to get in a lot of damage. Those Colossi will be able to get the level 2 weapons upgrade as soon as the Twilight Council is completed. The Roaches and both sides just battling it out. And the Stalker Colossus ball is just so difficult right now for Zerg to beat. The Colossus with that range, Stalkers with such a strong, powerful, this is just a really, really strong build that a lot of Protoss players are recently using, and it is very difficult for a Zerg player to try to stop it, even if the Zerg player has superior macro. Army-wise, 4850 compared to 6425. Roaches and Hydralisks are both excuse me, Roaches and Hydras are going to try to engage back over here. There are stalkers in now, and both sides are trying to battle it out, trying to take down this hatchery. The hatchery will get taken down in just a second here, and the hatchery may get cancelled in time. No, Roach is trying to fight it out. Corruptors are in the air to try to finish this off, and now some damage was dealt. There are a couple of force fields down over here, and now the hatchery was cancelled at just the right moment as these Roaches are continuing to just trying to figure out what they can really do. The Zerg player needs to get some additional, needs to get those Ultralisks, needs to get Infestors, and in order to try to fight back, Corruptors are just not that successful at dealing with Colossus, especially when that Stalker ball is so powerful underneath. Stalker Blink now being researched. And now when you have, what, 3 Colossi standing tall, able to get so much splash damage, those Colossus are just able to cut through that Zerg army so easily. Corruptors now trying to pull away and trying to perhaps be able to regenerate some more hit points, and now in comes one Stalker quickly getting destroyed, and now Roaches and Hydra are trying to battle it out. More force fields coming in again. The Corruptors are able to do their job against the rest of the Colossus, but now the Corruptors are in the air and completely and absolutely useless. Nothing that they can do at all except cast Corruption against Stalkers. That Corruption against Stalkers and those Immortals are not going to help out those Hydralisks at all, or help out if those force fields are constantly in play, preventing those Hydralisks from getting into any serious combat damage. There are a couple of Stalkers now positioned over here, not quite sure why they're there, but the Stalkers now moving into this expansion, and Socke just continuing to just beat down his opponent. Hydra is now maybe able to get a decent flank. There are some sentries. The sentries should be able to drop in some force fields, splitting up that army once again. There are the Corruptors in the air, but the Corruptors are just only going to be able to absorb damage. And now the army of Delphi down to 3,400 compared to 4,825. And a lot of those Corruptors are just absolutely useless. You can see there was what, 14 Corruptors in the air. The majority of the army is that, and what is the army? The unit combination. So yeah, 13 Corruptors, 4 Hydralisks, 7 Zerglings, and Delphi is forced to say GG. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Delphi and Socke here in the Xel'Naga Caverns. Oh, yeah, stop.